This is a story of prejudice and reconciliation, of lust and love, and of the power of the vision of God to transform needful and empty lives. The prejudice amongst Judeans, Galileans, and Samaritans is overcome by honest encounter. The shame and perverseness of the village prostitute are overcome by her meeting a man who can tell her whole heart. And she and her fellow villagers are transformed by the understanding and love which comes from the man of Galilee, whom Gyna calls the Messiah. It depicts an encounter between Jesus and the woman of the well, a Samaritan who lived in the village of Cheshire. The story follows the Gospel of John, chapter 4, verses 1 through 42.
This is something that started that's not going to stop here. And of course, enthusiasm means having the God within. I think that's the experience that people had in this play, and we all feel we'd like to see more of it, do more of it, share it with others. In Christian worship, we're reenacting the Eucharist, the Last Supper. It's a participation. It's being part of an act of God that we're doing. And God's act is also a play. It's a play in all senses, a play in the sense of a rejoicing, of a recreation is another synonym for play. At the very heart of plays and play is that sense of recreation. It's not something different from the liturgy, because the liturgy, of course, means the work of the people. We need to cherish and foster and enjoy diversity, not just tolerate it. And I think that a play is a wonderful vehicle to take and to take that message with, because people will tolerate things in a play because it's a play that they might not tolerate in their neighbor. And then they go away and think about it, and they realize that their tolerance has been enlarged by participating in such a play.
I looked at the play and read the play and then saw it being performed, and it was very much an organic play. So I thought if we started off with the music creeping in slowly but surely, then we would get the right atmosphere. We used some very basic, very popular rhythms from that region, so that it would feel natural and feel organic.
Once we knew who we had working and singing, and I knew I had some good choir people to work with, but still a group of amateurs. So it had to be things that sounded authentic, sounded like Jewish music.
So any music that you put in has got to be something that they feel totally comfortable with. And I think that's, we used some of Deborah's compositions, and we used some traditional compositions as well.
But it had to have something that was accessible for those people. So I wanted to limit the range a little bit of what they were, what they had to sing, and find a repetition that was going to work.
Just, with the music, having the music was a backup, really. Mm-hmm. And without it, I don't think I would have gotten the words down as I did. Memorizing lines is a very tricky thing for me.
But all that intelligence plays itself out, because you can use it. You only have to tell them something once. When you're doing something in high school, you oftentimes have to go back over the same thing over and over again, where with a group like this, you give it to them once and they get it.
Once we got us focused, make us realize that that the words just have to flow, and you have to, the part just has to come out of you. So we finally reached the stage where the production was coming together, and then let's just sit down and go through this again and again.
What I do to learn is I have to constantly repeat the words, repeat the lines, and since the author didn't make this easy for anybody, this one I felt just, it would come back, Yeshua, he who saves, Yeshua, the living word, first and last would kind of have to go hand in hand.
You really have to over-drill people, particularly amateurs, who are going to, in order to pull something off so that it's going to sound convincing.
We could use the music in a way which would cue the singers, and if they were nervous about anything, then there would be a little musical cue there, so then they could remember how it went. Then they remember what their particular song would be, their pitch would be, and how they were going to deliver it. And so it was there to kind of scaffold them.
I felt very anxious for Deb because as someone who's a full-time mom and pretty much a full-time music teacher and all of the other roles, that was a huge demand. Also, because of the nature of the character, there's a certain, I think, risk to playing a woman of ill repute, especially when you have a reputation for being quite the opposite.
Well, I knew from looking at the script that the song was going to be the core. Gyna's song and dance was going to be a core.
Gyna, who has known many men, all of the men among us, I believe, but then to be able to, in a very, as you put it, organic, natural way, see that turn around and have that spiritual transition where it goes from the love of lust to the love of spirit.
Because we had Heather to do the dance portion of it, it had to be something that she wanted to do.
This is sort of a play about how, the innocence of children can teach adults how wrong they are about everything. You sort of have to put your mind in, the mind of a child. And because children are so sort of innocent and they always know that they're right.
I was actually the center of attention, and this time I was actually the one who was getting picked on, or however you want to say it, picked on. I hope I will keep what I've learned in this production for the road.
You can create within the larger community an experience that means a good deal to everyone who is taking part of it, even the person who held the light. Every single person felt they were part of something special. They grew through it. They felt they were actually inside this particular gospel story. It's a story about diversity. It's a story about how Yeshua came not just to the Judeans, but also to the outcast Samaritans. And Yeshua's voice fought through resistance within the Samaritan community and got itself heard, and made out of that community a unified community, and made out of that community a bridge to the Judeans. I see this as a very wonderful way of communicating not only within one's community, but taking it out to other communities. This is why we wanted to have DVDs in the first instance, but we hope by taking the DVDs and the plays to other groups, we'll actually start something happening in some other churches as well. And we're even thinking about taking it out on the green of Port Hope and having several churches participate in other times. We performed it today, and I saw it in the midst of this church, with the story inside the church and people who they knew acting, and the people in the pews, they were caught up in it. It was just one of those rare experiences where you feel that you're lifted up by a force that's a little larger than yourself, and it encompasses everyone in the group.
I guess I've learned that a powerful play such as this, I guess it can help you, it can help me in the future down the road.
The whole idea is to make it feel natural, and I think the whole purpose of what we were planning with the music was to have the music creep in and be as if it was an organic part of the play.
There's a lot of enthusiasm in the audience, a lot of enthusiasm in the players, and I have hopes that it will grow. I think the whole effort was worthwhile. It gives someone an experience at whatever level or whatever religious conviction they may bring to it, an experience of participating in the Spirit. And for that, I think it's worth all the effort and the time and devotion that people put into it. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. It's one of the peak experiences of life, I think.